Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a digital marketing expert from Melbourne, Australia, Mr. Wes Towers. Wes, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. I realize it's a broad audience you have and a fantastic reach, so I'm honored to be here, really.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to speak to me. Wes is the founder and director of Uplift 360. So, Wes, before we start talking about Uplift, a few questions for you. Tell me about your journey and what was the inspiration to enter the world of digital marketing and web design?
Yeah, so it was a little bit by accident, really. So when I chose my career path back when I was in high school, website design really wasn't a thing because
Mhm.
it was the 90s. And my career path, we didn't really know about websites back then. But I chose to do graphic design slash
Mhm.
multimedia at uni. And when I finished that, I got a job in a marketing company. And this was the year 2000, and the funny thing was they were an award-winning marketing company in Sydney, but
Mhm.
they'd never designed a website. We had one computer connected to the internet through a dial-up modem, one email address. Things have changed broadly
Right.
in marketing. It's crazy. But yeah, so they won a website design project, and they said, "Well, you're the young guy. You better figure out how to build this website." So I did that website for them, and I became their web person from there on, and found I loved the creative and the technical merged together. That those two elements really suited me, so I became a website person from there on, starting my own business eventually,
Amazing.
and went from there.
Wow, what an amazing story. And tell me, was there a turning point when you decided to fully embrace AI into your business?
Yeah, so that's happened obviously recently. Well, a few years ago. So there was a time, yeah, 3 years ago when I got a business valuation done,
Mm.
and the valuation came in a lot less than what I anticipated. In
Hmm.
fact, the valuation was even less than the assets held in the business, which is, I
Hmm.
don't even know how they did that. But in any
Hmm.
case, they pretty much said the business was worth nothing. And the reason and the rationale behind the business value was saying that was he considered AI a significant threat to my industry and business, and therefore the value it wasn't a saleable asset. Now, so
Hmm.
that was 3 years ago. And so I decided, right, well, I'm not going to live by that. And I flipped the script, so to speak. So I introduced AI into my business from that point on, and grew the business phenomenally well since then. So, I mean, I'd like to get a new valuation. I haven't done so, but we've introduced AI into the way in which we operate as a marketing company, effectively. So we do website design, we do search engine optimization. We're calling it search everywhere optimization.
Hmm.
But introduced some AI techniques and tools and helped our clients in that way. So
Right.
business was transformed and it really grew. So yeah, as I said, I'd love to get a new valuation off the back of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's now talk about Uplift 360. You
Yeah.
help trade and construction businesses to grow. Tell me about Uplift 360. What sets you apart from other agencies?
Yeah, so really niching in was a big decision and a somewhat scary decision. So we did websites. Firstly, we did graphic design and websites for anybody and everybody. Starting out, I started out freelancing and
Mhm.
built a business, a more of a fully fledged business with team. But so we started with graphic design and website design, and I soon realized our best projects were all websites. And then even from there, I realized all our best clients the majority of our best clients were in the trades and construction
Mhm.
related industries. So I thought everyone says niching is a great way to market,
Mhm.
particularly for a smaller business like mine. So you can be you can be the perceived expert in your niche, but it's very difficult to compete against the really big players if
Right.
you're a generalist.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's what we did. We specialize in the construction. We really understand those types of businesses because we're working with them all the time. So we can bring tremendous value just from the lessons we've learned from one client,
Mhm.
get some quick wins for the next client, and on it goes. So yeah, it's been a really great decision
Interesting.
to niche.
Very, very interesting. And you just a few minutes back were telling me how you reworded SEO to search everywhere optimization. Sorry, tell me a little bit more about this.
Yeah, so there's lots of different acronyms and so on, and how we frame what is now AI and people using, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever they're using, Perplexity. They're using these as research tools and having conversations. It's a
Mm,
conversational type platform to find businesses. So we realized that's probably the way of the future. And so to optimize not just for Google, because once upon a time, a few years back, if you needed a service, you would just jump on Google
yeah,
or the like, a
yeah.
search engine, search for the service, search for the location. It might be plumber Melbourne, for example.
Mm,
But now we realize not everyone's just jumping straight to Google. They're doing their initial research on ChatGPT. So we need to be optimized for those platforms. We need to be found as broadly as we possibly can through
mm,
every means possible. So syndicating your message far and wide through social platforms, for example. Things like this is a great avenue to use other people's platforms as well to share your message. Like podcasting is a fantastic opportunity, and
mm.
and that's one of the things we're doing for ourselves, but helping clients be found anywhere and everywhere as best we can.
Fascinating, fascinating. What are some common misconceptions businesses have about using AI?
Yeah, there's lots of challenges because it is so new and evolving so fast. Now we're working with, as I said, our most of our clients are in the construction related businesses, so they're kind of practical, hands-on people. If it's founder led and we're
Mhm.
still dealing with the founder, being if it's a smaller business, they're more comfortable on the tools, being pragmatic. They're not naturally behind a computer. That's not their natural thing. So it's about having conversations about how we can use the tools for them on their behalf, but we need to really understand their business, their values, their voice, how they communicate, so we can publish content on their behalf so it sounds just like them,
Mhm.
and also their core message. So what's uniquely them, and what do they want to share? What sets them apart in the industry? So supporting those types of people who are less tech savvy in practical terms is a really important thing in my niche. But
Mhm.
as I said, things are changing so fast. It's
Yeah,
exciting and terrifying.
yeah, yeah, I agree. But tell me, for my viewers and listeners, give me one or two practical ways in which you're using AI in your SEO and your web design projects.
Yeah, so one of the key core strategies that we implement for clients trying to attract more attention online is to write regular, frequently published content within their website. We
Mm,
find it's an easy way to add substance to your online experience, and it's the one area that you completely control. See, social platforms, it's a very noisy space, and there's lots of competitors out there. But your website where you can add a blog or news, that sort of thing. And we're writing on their behalf, but we're setting up really solid foundations. So we're
mm,
getting their style guide and voice documentation, using that as a prompt. So anything that we write on their behalf is written in their format and style,
mm,
but also their message. We're really delving deep into precisely what it is they do that's distinctly them and different from their competitors. Because
mm.
if you just rely on the tool, it comes out very generic and
Yeah.
bland, but you've got to really guide it really thoroughly to make sure you
Mm,
produce a great outcome. And the more quality content you publish, it's got to be quality and it's got to be adding value. Then the more you'll be found for various different search
mm,
phrases.
mm. Well said. Wes, why is conversion-driven design especially critical for the businesses that you work with?
Yeah, so there's a curious thing. There's less and less traffic coming to websites these
Mm,
days, purely because people are researching off the website. So once upon a time you'd search on Google and you'd need to visit the website to find out more and do your research before making an
mm,
inquiry.
mm,
Now Google will give you an answer on the page itself. So there's less reason to click through. So the few that eventually do come to your website,
mm,
it's got to be spot on so people do make that inquiry. You can't just rely on sheer volumes of traffic coming to your website anymore, simply because that's not happening. The few
mm,
that do come, they're probably really close
Mm.
to making a buying decision by the
Right.
time they get to your site because they've already researched. So
Mm.
you need to make it really super easy to engage with these people. So
Mm.
simplicity is the best thing really to design a website that converts.
Mm. And you're so right. People are not really visiting websites, and yet everyone must have a website because that's really what tells the story about their businesses. And my question to you is,
Yeah.
what are some typical mistakes businesses make with their websites before they come to you?
Yeah, so it's often the case that a website might be built a few years ago, and technology and expectations change so fast. So,
Mm.
if you had a website built even a couple of years ago, it's probably becoming outdated and probably even the message isn't quite right. And the other thing too, so people will build a website and then they'll start manipulating it,
Mm.
but it's not real, it becomes a real bit of a mess. And so much gets crammed in
Mm.
that it becomes a nightmare. It's slow loading because there's just so much in there, and it's not performing very well anymore. So oftentimes you need to start with a clean slate, improve the message so it's specific for where the business is at right then, and relaunch into a modern, sophisticated
Mm.
online presence.
Mm. Amazing. And what kind of research goes into crafting a bespoke website for a trade business?
Yeah, so there's definitely lessons you can learn from even looking at your leading competitors, and particularly if they're a massive entity, they've probably invested a lot into getting their user experience and design exactly right. That's converting really well. So realistically, you should be looking at your leading competitors and how they've structured a website. And if there's things that the leaders are all doing in a certain way or a certain message that they're using,
Mm.
chances are they've already tested and measured it. So
Mhm.
what you've got to do is look at theirs, see, okay, right, well, how does this apply to me? You don't ever want to copy them precisely, but you
Mm.
want to learn from their structure, for example. So simple things, the branding might be on the left, the menu in the top, your call to action button. What is that call to action? Is it a phone now? Is it a
Mm.
request a quote? Could be a number of things. And then that hero section on the website, which is your really core foundational message and a way in which you want to engage people, make an
Mm.
inquiry, request a quote, whatever the case may be. So
Mm.
learn from the best because they've probably done the research for you and
Yep.
leverage that into your own, what makes sense to your own brand and business.
Great response. And can you give me an example of, without any names, of course, of a website that you completely redesigned and the impact that it had?
Yeah, it does. So there's one that we launched fairly recently. I don't know if I can share the brand, but
No,
it's
please
in
don't.
the
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, it's in the it's a trade diesel. They do diesel um vehicles and fix them and maintain them and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So it's yeah, in our space because we do trades websites. But their major problem was they were focusing on far too much. Now, their ideal client is the fleets. So they realistically want to work with fleet managers and large companies with lots of vehicles. They don't really want to deal with the one person with a small truck, that sort of thing. It's just not, they're not geared and set up for that. But their website was communicating all of these messages for anyone and everybody. So
Mhm.
they weren't attracting the right ideal client. So realistically for them, we just stripped back. Removed lots and lots of pages and content and
Mm.
reworked what was actually theirs. And now they're getting the right kind of leads coming through. So they're not
Amazing.
getting so many wasting their time because they always got lots of inquiries, but weren't quality inquiries. Now they've filtered them somewhat through their website. So
Mm.
it's simple things like that are always good wins.
Fascinating. And how would you measure the ROI of a redesigned website?
Yeah, so it is with our clientele, it can be a little bit challenging in that the sales cycle is really quite slow from the initial inquiry to the sale being done. Oftentimes, depends on the
Mhm.
nature of what it is. So we're encouraging clients to use software to track the leads through and to quantify that with the sale.
Mm.
The Sometimes they won't have systems in place that can quite do that from the receptionist answering the phone to the sale. So we're just asking them to jot down. Now we're dealing with clients who one sale is a significant amount. If we were dealing with a company with lots of small sales, $100, $50, whatever, and lots of them, large volume, you would need to track in a more sophisticated way. But for us, it can be really pen and paper and just say, okay, we got 5 inquiries this month and two of them converted, and that meant $80,000, whatever the case may
Mm,
be. It's
mm.
as simple as that, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Wes, which AI tools or trends excite you the most right now?
Yeah, so at the moment, just for my own business, I'm going on the podcasting circuit and I'm enjoying that a lot. But
Mm,
to leverage that to its maximum capacity, I'm just using Opus, which is a tool to it creates your reels and so on, so you can publish it to all the social media platforms that do video really well. And I found it's a phenomenal tool.
mm,
It will do its best to pick out the little snippets of content that are most engaging. And I found it does a really incredible job. It does the transcript and everything pretty close to accurate most of the time. So all of a sudden, not only is there podcasts like this one, but there's syndicated this snippets of content broadly and far reaching. And
mm,
I'm finding a great reach
mm,
with that. So Opus is a great tool. There's lots of other tools. That's just one front of mind because I'm using it right now.
mm,
We're using AI for ClickUp has some great AI integrated in. Nearly every platform, nearly every piece of software is integrating AI. ClickUp is the one that we use for project management, so it's really good internally.
Amazing.
Descript we're using for videos and editing and a
Correct.
bunch of stuff internally. So many tools that are out there.
I know that all these tools have made life so much easier now. But my next question for you, Wes, is what role does user experience or UX play in the conversion journey?
Yeah, so oftentimes the design gets in the way of the message, and you really, really don't want that.
Mm,
So the design should be there to support your core message.
mhm,
And so what that means is a clean and simple website is usually the best. Clean, sophisticated, elegant, needs to work really well on mobile because in a lot of industries, people will be searching on their some people call it a cell phone or a mobile phone.
mm,
So they're looking at it on a smaller device. So particularly when websites were built a long time ago, there's just way too much for a mobile experience. So we're finding less is more and having things in the appropriate places where people expect them to be. So as I said before, people expect your call to action or your phone number to be in a certain place. So it should
mm,
be there. You shouldn't deviate away from the user experience that people have learned to engage with because you don't want to complicate it. You want them to make simple, easy decisions to engage with you as a business.
mm. I have time for two more questions for you, Wes.
Sure.
What does a high-performing website look like for some of your kind of clients?
Yeah, so bringing in consistent leads is typical because they're service-based businesses for the most part. Now, we are doing a shopping website soon, I believe, with to sell roofing materials. We do building material as well, but for the most part, we do service-based businesses. So it's really about communicating a clear and concise message to the end person reading your website. But the other thing too is using your website as fuel
Mm,
to train AI because AI is gleaning information online.
yeah.
So if you're publishing quality content regularly within your website through a news or blog, whatever the case may be, you're don't think just about your human readers, but think about that piece educating AI, and hopefully you'll show up in ChatGPT and the like.
Mm,
So yeah, that's really where it's at. So getting those foundations right, and then
yeah.
creating leads and closing the sales.
Fascinating. And my last question for you, where do you see Uplift 360 and AI-powered digital marketing in the next few years?
Yeah, I think I said before it's exciting and terrifying right where we're at right now. So the way in which things are growing so fast, I think the end goal of what we produce and provide to our clients will remain. We're creating websites and getting them found so that people can grow their businesses, construction businesses
Hmm.
typically. So I think those outcomes will always remain, and the tools and techniques they're likely to change rapidly. It's hard to predict precisely how we do that, but as new software and technology evolves, I mean, there's great systems like vibe coding to build apps, but they're not quite right for just building your marketing-based website. But I perceive in the future some of these AI platforms like vibe coding will build the website in a really well-crafted way. So we'll have to stay on top of that and see where it takes us.
Good luck. But on that note, Wes, I just want to say what a fascinating conversation this has been. You've given some very deep understanding of how AI is being used by you and Uplift 360 for the benefit of a lot of your clients. I think my viewers and listeners will learn several new things from you about AI, and of course, I loved your term, the search everywhere optimization. Thank you again for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Fantastic. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.